Hello, I'm Adam, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Supreme Court and the coming elections. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic today is because it's the most important thing about the upcoming U.S. elections. And a lot of people think it's about the economy, but it really isn't. Because while the economy can come and go, it can prosper and then it can crash and we can go into a national bankruptcy, that's much less important than whether we maintain our Constitution and our constitutional freedoms. And the most important thing about our country is our Constitution and our rights. It's why the United States was founded, and without it we're really not much of a country. We're not like other countries that are together by history or culture or ethnicity or language. We're a country that was created by our founding fathers as a country of rights and of laws and of an ideology, basically a free country. And if we lose that, we're not going to get it back anytime soon. And it's hanging in the balance right now, because right now there are 4 members of the Supreme Court that are very much committed to the left-wing agenda and to subverting the U.S. Constitution. They're not interested in interpreting the Constitution. They basically want to rewrite the Constitution in accordance with the left-wing agenda, which is incompatible with the U.S. Constitution. The socialism and government control, the racist ideology and racist law that the left wants to impose, of course, it is in conflict with the U.S. Constitution. They know this. The U.S. Constitution has always been an obstacle to the left-wing agenda, so they have to subvert it. Of course, they won't admit this. They'll do it under the guise of interpretation. But if you look at their interpretations, it's ridiculous that this would conform to the U.S. Constitution. And the left-wing establishment talks about this openly. They often refer to the Constitution in the past tense. They call it the original Constitution, as opposed to the one that they envision or are trying to create. Or else they talk about how it's their right to rewrite the Constitution if they win the election and can pack enough judges on the Supreme Court. Now, of course, our founding fathers, in their wisdom, gave us the ability to amend the Constitution. There is a process laid out in which the people can amend the Constitution. But, of course, the left-wing agenda would not be popular. These amendments would all fail, which is why the left wing of the United States is trying to pack the court with judges who will subvert the Constitution and impose the left-wing agenda. Right now we have 4: Breyer, Ginsburg, Kagan, and Sotomayor. And if you read their dissents, right now they're not in power. They're a block of 4 judges who will always rule in favor of the left-wing agenda. Anybody who knows anything about the court can tell you how these judges will vote on every case for the next 30 years or for the length of their judicial careers. They'll always vote for the left-wing agenda. It's no secret how they'll vote. Now, a few times they've gotten one of the conservatives or moderates on the court to side with them, but often their rulings have been diluted by that 5th member. But if you look at how they rule, you'll see what the true agenda is without that dilution by that trying to pick up that 5th vote of one of the weak-minded or politicized members of the conservative or moderate bloc in the court. But these 4 represent, if you read what they write, you'll understand the danger we're in as a country from this left-wing subversion of the Supreme Court. And again, this is the most important thing about this election. When you look at a president, their main goal, the oath they swear to, is to defend and uphold the U.S. Constitution. There's nothing in their oath about being a good manager of the economy or being popular. Even this is more important than foreign policy. And this is the most important thing that Americans are going to have to live with if they re-elect Obama and he gets to appoint a 5th member of the hardcore left-wing bloc. And again, this is not a matter of interpretation. This is imposing the left-wing agenda. Of these judges, even Ginsburg even recently said overseas that anyone who is trying to create a constitution should not look to the U.S. Constitution, that they should look elsewhere. And it's very obvious she has contempt for the Constitution and the rights of the people. So again, the Supreme Court and the left-wing agenda, which I'll talk about very specifically, a lot of recent rulings of the dissent, not necessarily the major rulings, which are sometimes the left picks up that fifth judge, sometimes they don't. But let's just look at those 4 judges and see how they rule. Again, it's a deliberate effort to subvert the Constitution. This is not a conspiracy. This is a consensus on the left. This is widely talked about on the left. They understand that the Constitution conflicts with their agenda, and it's an obstacle to them. So that they'll just simply, under the guise of interpretation, subvert the Constitution and take away the people's freedoms, which people do not feel are valued or threatened right now, again, because these 4 are not in power. But if they get that 5th vote, they will immediately start rewriting the Constitution in a very harsh and dictatorial way and advance the socialist agenda, the racial agenda, and from top down dictatorship, and take away the rights of the people. And if you don't believe me, we're going to talk here in a moment about how they rule and what their agenda is. And you can look this up and read about it yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. Again, they all swear oaths to uphold the Constitution of the United States. That's their one job. They have one job. And they read the Constitution. They're not stupid people. They know what it says. They know what the founders' intent is. But that's not their agenda. Their agenda is the left-wing agenda. They don't share constitutional values with the majority and the tradition of the American people. They basically want a socialist agenda, a racial ideology. They're hostile to any expression of religion in the public realm as well. But more on that in a moment. Again, they're one justice away from rewriting the Constitution and taking away our God-given freedoms that our founding fathers gave to us and we're entrusted to uphold. And that's why they're all required to swear an oath. The president, the Supreme Court justices, although, you know, it doesn't really mean much these days on the political left. And there were people, you know, in cemeteries who died defending the Constitution, America. That's what America is. So this is very serious business. If we lose the Constitution and our God-given rights, they will not be coming back anytime soon. Again, the left-wing agenda conflicts with the Constitution. And we have to read what these, basically I wrote fascist because this is actually fascism. If you, now Americans tend to think of fascism as foreigners, angry foreigners with funny hats, but fascism is a form of government where the government controls the economy and the people don't have many rights. It's a form of sort of pragmatic dictatorial socialism. And that is sort of the left-wing agenda, top-down government. So let's look at some particular rulings. For instance, socialism and government control. We saw this most recently with the Obamacare ruling. The 4 hardcore leftists, Breyer, Ginsburg, Kagan, and Sotomayor, basically say that the U.S. government can do anything it wants regarding the economy. They can decree that you do anything. They can control the economy. They can control anything to do with commerce. There is no limitation to the government's power over the economy. You have basically no economic rights. The government can dictate anything about the economy, and you don't have any say over that. So, they see no limits whatsoever to that power of the government to basically have a socialist country. And also property rights. They've ruled very recently, and not these exact 4, but they're interchangeable with other left-wing judges, and they picked up a moderate, that basically you don't have any property rights. If the government wants to take your property for the collective good, they can absolutely do it. Of course, there is in the Constitution the ability of the government to take property if it's for public use. A public use. Everyone is going to use this for a bridge or a road, something like that. But it goes beyond that. In violation of the wording of the Constitution that says the government cannot take your property for the common good. But these judges have now ruled that the government can take your property for the common good as they decree it to be. So socialism, government, complete control over the economy, very little, if any, property rights. You don't have any right to your property. Also the Second Amendment. These 4 judges recently ruled that you have no right to have a Second Amendment, a right to bear arms, not even your own home. They ruled that, and they lost 5-4, but they basically said you have no right to a gun even in your own home. So it's pretty hard to imagine a more severe taking away of our Second Amendment rights than that. It's pretty. There are 4 members of the Supreme Court who do not believe in the Second Amendment, and if they get a 5th, we won't have a Second Amendment. Foreign law, they've even stopped pretending to interpret the Constitution. They feel they can just impose foreign law in the United States. They said so in a recent ruling. They said, well, we don't see anything about this in the Constitution, but foreign law, whatever that is, foreign law, how many countries are there, how many laws? You could think of all kinds of horrors that could be imposed on the American people through foreign law, and which is a direct violation of their oaths, but they said this very explicitly, and you would think that that would cause an uproar, but after one day's headlines it disappeared, and now they feel they can impose foreign law in the United States in violation of their oaths to uphold and support the U.S. Constitution. So there's going to be all kinds of things imposed on us based on this new ideology of imposing foreign law in the United States. And of course, racist categorization and racist law. A long history of the United States trying to deal with racism and give people their full rights as individual human beings. And after the defeat of Jim Crow and the freeing of the slaves, the various amendments to the Constitution, real amendments done the real way by the people, the Supreme Court has basically gone back to saying that the U.S. government can racially categorize people and have racist law, where your rights are determined based on some group identity and hashed up by the government based on you're a member of whatever group they perceive you or categorize you as. So racist law, racist categorization, foreign law, and again, this is not me talking about things that I think they're going to do in the future. These are things they've already written. These are things they've already said and already have written. And if they get one more judge, the undiluted impact of this subversion will be felt across the country in the present and in coming generations. So this is the threat that we face, that we have to understand and realize that if there is one more left-wing judge on the court, that we're going to have a very severe imposition of the left-wing agenda on America, and they're going to subvert their oaths and impose foreign law and say government complete control over the economy, which is socialism, no property rights, no Second Amendment, and these are just a handful, and there are others. I just picked these 5, and just to give you an idea what's in store for the country. So again, the economy is important, foreign policy is important, but this is the most important thing we face, and we have to win this election, or if we don't, then if Obama gets a 5th member of the Supreme Court, we're in very serious trouble. So I thank you for tuning in today, and have a great day.